In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a variation on a line plot called a sparkline. So a sparkline is a very small line plot, typically unlabeled. It's meant to be a kind of a word-sized chart, something you could maybe even use in line with some text like you see here. But these show temporal trends in a very compact format. This style of data visualization was formally documented by a pretty well-known visualization researcher and author, Edward Tufte. To demonstrate the use of sparklines and how you accomplish this in Google Sheets, I'm going to use a data set from the EIA on renewables and non-renewable energy sources showing energy consumption per year. So I downloaded it from this website. I've already got the data in a Google Sheet. You can see it here. So I've got data year by year, and I have energy consumption in quadrillion BTUs for the various sources. So I've got some of my non-renewables like coal, natural gas, and petroleum. I've got totals on that. And then it moves on to the renewables, nuclear, hydro, geothermal, solar, wind, biomass. Then there's some additional totals for renewables and then total energy consumption overall. All right, so each of these columns represents a time series, and that's something we could make a sparkline out of. So what I like to do for sparklines is I like to have them stacked vertically on top of each other. Since these time series are running up and down, I actually want them running horizontally, so I can put a sparkline next to each row representing a time series. So what I need to do is move this data and transpose it. So flip it along the diagonal axis so that my years are running across the top, and each row is one of those time series for an energy source. So what I'm going to do is select all of my data. So on my keyboard, I'm going to hit Control A. That'll select all the populated cells in my sheet, and I'm going to copy that data. I'm going to create a new sheet where I can put this data in, but my goal is to transpose it. So I'm going to paste this data, but I'm going to do a paste special. And one of the nice features that's offered is to paste the data transpose. So that'll flip it along that diagonal axis. And so now, instead of my years running vertically, they're running horizontally. So that was my goal. That's what I wanted to see. And now I can see each of my different energy sources listed here, and then all my years across the top. Now, I want my sparklines to be here next to my labels. So I'm going to insert a new column to the left, and I'm going to make that a little bit wider. So what I want to do is make a sparkline for each row of data. So the sparklines aren't in the chart option that we normally looked at in some of my other videos. It's actually a function. So to create a sparkline, I'm going to type an equals sign that says I want this cell to be driven off of a formula. I'm going to start typing sparkline, and I can see that it says this is a miniature chart within a cell. And this is a function, and so when you do functions in Google Sheets, use a parenthesis, and then it expects some parameters. And you can get some help on what those parameters can be to that function. But the main thing is data, so I need to give it a range of cells to create the sparkline out of. So what I need to do is start with C2 here, my first year for coal, and I'm going to drag, and I got to go way out here to my final column of data, and I want to select in 2020 that coal time series endpoint. Scroll back to the right, and you can see that as I've selected those cells, it's populated the range from C2 to BV2, that whole time series of coal-based energy consumption. I'm going to end that function with a parenthesis, and I'm going to hit enter. Now you can see it's plotted a sparkline. So it's turned this row of numbers, this time series of energy consumption from coal, into a sparkline. Now I just need to repeat that. So if I copy and paste that formula into another cell, that is going to automatically translate, whereas this cell was C2 to BB2, when I copy that formula down, it automatically translates down a row. And so now it's running from C3 for natural gas all the way to the end of that time series. And you can see I've got an updated sparkline there. And now I just want to repeat this for all of these, and actually I can grab this little handle and drag down, and that's going to copy that formula for each row, and that formula is going to be updated. You can see in the top here, C10, C13. It matches up with the row that it's associated with. And there I've got my sparklines. I'll throw a little label on that. Sparkline. And at a glance now you can see the trend in energy use, energy consumption from each of these sources, including some of our totals. Now the sparklines, the time is running horizontally, but there's no labels. And then vertically, each sparkline, the vertical axis, is scaled to the maximum value in that time series. So each of the vertical axes here is probably a different range, because there's going to be different maximum values in each of these time series. So you don't want to compare these to see totals or absolute values between them. But if we're looking at general trends, they're very useful. Really compact form, you can see the general trends associated with a whole bunch of different time series. So that's how you accomplish sparklines in Google Sheets.